Hello and welcome. A big hello to all the lovely people who have joined us today for day 2 of the live Insta session. I am Dr. Swati Kedia, your Vaisa buddy, and we'll be carrying forward our discussion on how to manage anxiety. So, as you remember, some of you who joined us yesterday, some may be joining us today. So just a recap of what we did yesterday. We talked about what is anxiety, how it manifests itself in our body, in our thinking, and in our behavior. How we feel when we are anxious, how we react when we are anxious, and how we are not able to do certain things when we are anxious. Then we finished the session by doing a simple breathing retraining or a mindfulness meditation kind of an exercise, which would help you calm down physically so that you can think more logically in the situation and you can act accordingly, right? So today we'll take the discussion forward by discussing 2 more important skills that can be used to deal with anxiety. One is how to manage worry, and second is how to manage time, right? So again, I welcome all of you, and let's start with something called worry management. Worry, we all understand, is basically about things we cannot control. It may be about our past, where I might be thinking, oh my god, I messed up yesterday. Or it might be about my future. I will definitely not finish that task. I have so many things to do. I am going to flunk in all my exams. So I may be worrying. Now what happens when you worry is, to some extent, worrying is good because it helps you in preparing yourself further. But when you continue to worry, then you have difficulty focusing on the task at hand, and because of which you have difficulty remembering it, you will have difficulty performing it, and then it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy when I say that, see, I told you I will flunk in all my exams. So it's very important that if we can deal with our worries, if we can contain them in a safe space and deal with them at a later point of time and focus on the task at hand. So to manage our worries, and before I begin, I read a very nice quote by somebody who said that most of my life was full of tragedies, none of which ever happened. So this is what happens when we worry. We just keep worrying about negative things. We keep worrying about mishaps to happen, which actually don't. But I end up wasting my today. So what can I do to manage that anxiety or that worry? There is a technique that we call the worry box. Now, a worry box can be actually something like this, which is a box in which you can do your own creativity. It's basically a metaphor. It's basically an abstract or a symbolic concept where we are trying to say that keep your worries in a safe space, contain them there till a point of time when you can learn how to deal with them. So, as I was saying, one can create a worry box, or you can even use your phones, your tablets, or your laptop. Create a Word document, create a note where you can put your worrying thoughts. Now, how does this work? The step 1 is 2 ways you can do it. One is that you take out about say 10-15 minutes every day where you will be putting down your worrying thoughts into the box. Another option is that when you're working or when you're studying or when you're doing your office work and worrying thoughts start coming about work not done, about failure, etc., at that point write down whatever is worrying you to be tackled later. So for example, in my worry box, what I do is I keep these stick-ons and a pen. So whenever I'm worried, so for example, I may be worried that I will not do well in exam. I have written it down. I will not do well in exams, and I put it in my worry box. Close it. Keep it aside and take a very conscious decision that I have put my worrying thoughts into the box. I am not going to think about them right now. What I'm going to do right now is focus on what I'm doing, focus on what I can currently accomplish. And then every 3 to 4 days, or maybe once in a week, you can open this worry box, start going through all those thoughts. Now the thoughts will fall into two categories. One, the thoughts which have become redundant now because you don't worry about them as of now. For example, today my thought was that I will not be able to submit my presentation tomorrow, and I actually ended up giving it. So 5 days later, that thought is redundant, right? So it's like some thoughts will become redundant, so I will remove them. I will tear off the stick-ons, I can throw them away. Some thoughts, however, will still be worrying me. For example, will I lose my job? Will I get my pay this month? Will I be healthy? Will my family remain healthy? Now these are some thoughts which are worrisome. But then I need to ask myself that what's the advantage or disadvantage of worrying about that thought? We'll be talking more about the challenging your thinking part tomorrow. But just to brief you, so the thoughts that are worrying you and which are genuinely worrisome, you need to ask yourself, can I do something about it? Can I control the situation? If not, can I be prepared to face it? Otherwise, what's the point of worrying about it? Right? So, let's go through the worry box technique again. First is that you can have a worry box. Use a box, use a Tupperware, use your shoe box, use an envelope, use your phone. Anything which for you symbolizes a worry box. Once you have done that, then after that, you start writing your worrisome thoughts into that box. It's like putting those thoughts into a safe container where you can come back to at a later point of time, right? Once you've done that, fix up a time in the week where you'll go back to those thoughts, you'll pick up those chits one by one, throw away the thoughts which have become redundant, which you do not need to worry about at all, and those which are still worrying you, just ask yourself, what's the point of worrying about it? Is there any advantage or disadvantage of worrying about this particular aspect? Can I control it? And if not, can I prepare for it? So for example, I am worrying about getting the illness. Can I control it? No, if I get it, I will get it. But what can I do to prepare myself? I can take precautionary measures. I can maintain social distance. I can wear a mask. I can stay at home and follow the lockdown rules. I can make sure I maintain hygiene. So these are the things I can do rather than just worrying about whether I or some other person will get the illness or not. Right? So this kind of finishes what we call the worry box technique, or a technique to manage your worrisome thoughts. If there are any questions at this point of time, I'll be glad to take them. Like for example, somebody mentioned that they worry about not being liked by other people because because he or she is fat, Now again, I ask myself that just worrying about it or ruminating about it, is it going to help me? Or can I do something about it? So either I change the way I think, or do I want to change the way I look? Or do I want to tell the people who think like this about me that this is not acceptable to me? So there are always solutions, there are always ways of dealing with things rather than just worrying about them. Somebody has asked about breathing. How do breathing help me calm down so effectively? Well, what happens is when you're breathing deep in a deep manner or in a controlled manner, so your mind gets a signal. Before that, when you're anxious, you tend to have short breaths and your heart starts beating heart starts beating very fast. So your mind gets a signal that something is wrong, there is a danger out there which I need to look out for. But when I breathe in a deep manner, in a controlled manner, my heart rate settles down, my blood flow stabilizes, and my mind starts getting the signal that things are fine now and you don't need to panic or you don't need to worry. Therefore, whenever you're feeling anxious, just 5 minutes of deep breathing exercise can actually calm you down a lot. Yes, worrying about how life is changing so much and so quickly is a very worrying thought. Climate change, pollution, and now this lockdown. But again, ask yourself, when you have this thought while you're working, put this in your worry box. When you have taken out the time to worry about it, just ask yourself, does worrying about it help me in any way? And if it doesn't, what can I do about it? Right? So with that, let's move on to our second technique of the evening. Something which I guess most of us, or many of us at least, struggle with, which is time management. Now you may ask me, how is time management related to anxiety? So what happens is that when you're not able to manage time, you may actually remain busy. You may do a lot of things, but you may end up not having the output you desire. So what happens is you miss deadlines, your reputation at work might suffer, you're constantly frustrated and overworked actually, which increases your anxiety and stress levels, which further increases your procrastination and your inability to work. So it just kind of becomes a vicious cycle of doing a lot of things without really being efficient or achieving what you really want to achieve. So there are some simple techniques that one can follow for time management. The first and the foremost important thing is, how can I schedule or how can I prioritize things that I need to do? Now, I may be having 20 things in my to-do list. I need to make calls, I need to send emails, I may need to make a presentation, I need to write an academic paper, I also need to watch my favorite TV show, I need to exercise, I need to take my dog out for a walk. So everything requires time, but at the end of the day we only have those 24 hours in which we also have to sleep and eat and take care of our hygiene needs, etc. Right? So how I prioritize myself is, for each thing that I need to do, can I divide it into 4 columns? So the first column says all the things which are urgent and important. So for example, I have a deadline tomorrow for a presentation, so it's urgent and important. I have to prepare for my today's session, that's urgent and important. A crisis comes, a family member falls ill, it's urgent and important. So whatever is urgent and important, right in front of it, do it now. The second column says things which are urgent but which are not important for me. So for example, I'm in a position or a slightly higher position and I need to prepare minutes of the meeting, or I need to prepare a report. Can I delegate it to somebody? Can I ask a junior to at least prepare a kind of a first draft which I can edit, right? So the first column, urgent and important, do it. The second column, urgent, not important, try and delegate it or do it at a slightly later time. The third column is basically which is important but not urgent. So for example, it may be I need to prepare a plan for my work schedule for the entire month, or I may need to prepare a plan for my office work. I may need to indulge in recreational activity. I may need to exercise. All of these are important, but they are not urgent. So these activities go into the column of important but not urgent, and you decide a time when you will be doing this. So from 4 to 5 in the evening I will be exercising, right? From 2 to 4 I'll be working on the office plan or my month productivity plan. The fourth column is things which are neither important nor urgent. So for example, mindless TV watching. It can be just browsing random sites. It can be deleting all the photos on my phone. This is neither important but nor urgent. But what we do is we end up actually spending more time on them, on things that need to be done. So just let me repeat again. Do it things those are urgent and important. Delegate things that are important but not that are urgent but not important. Third, schedule a time for things that are not urgent but important. And fourth, forget about or do the thing last which is neither important nor urgent, right? Once you've done that, then on a daily basis you can have a to-do list of what I need to accomplish today, and then putting a tick mark on what you have actually been able to accomplish or not. So making a to-do list kind of keeps you organized on what all you need to achieve for the day, and it also gives you an objective feedback whether you've been able to achieve it or not. The third time management technique is something we call the Pomodoro technique. Fun fact, Pomodoro basically comes from the Italian word for tomato. So in the 18th century, 18th or 19th century, they basically had kitchen timers which were shaped like tomatoes. So the term Pomodoro has come from that. So what we do in Pomodoro is you schedule a 25-minute timer. So many of you may have these kind of kitchen timers, right? So you can just put a 25-minute timer or do it on your phone and then keep it aside. Now for those 25 minutes, intentionally and forcefully make yourself work on the task that you have chosen for yourself. No disturbances, nothing. Unless it's a crisis situation, you would not move from your table chair for those 25 minutes. After 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break in which you can take a walk, have a cup of coffee, wash your face, stretch yourself, do some breathing exercise. Make sure you don't go back to your gadgets, otherwise you'll lose time. So just 5-7 minutes of break. Then come back and do another 25 minutes. So do 25 minutes, 4 repetitions. So which is 25 minutes of work, 5 minutes of break, 25 minutes of work, 5 minutes break, 25 minutes work, 5 minutes break, and last one again. And then you can take a slightly longer, about a 20-minute break, in which you can take some rest, you can maybe see your messages, etc., reply to some mails, do things which are, as we have discussed, which are important but not urgent. You can schedule your time for those. So 1, prioritize. 2, make a to-do list. 3rd, the Pomodoro technique. Fourth, learn to say no on things, for things that you cannot do, for things which are not falling into your agenda and somebody else can do them. Please learn to say no. If you try and do all the things people ask you, you will never be able to accomplish anything. Then, very important, look out for that little voice in your head that actually makes you procrastinate. So, I'm sure many of you would be able to relate to this when I say that I'll start working at 10 a.m. and then I look at my watch and it's 10:10 and I'm like, oh, let me watch some TV. I'll start working at 11 now. It's the 10th deadline is gone. So I'll not do work at that. Or saying things like, there is so much to do, I don't know where to start. I am not going to do anything. So just let me close down all my work and watch some TV. Or there's a lot of work and I only have 15 minutes. I will not be able to give any quality time to it. So what's the point of even starting it? Forget it. I can't do this. Let me sleep a little. I'll take a short nap and then I'll start working again. I'm not feeling up to it. Let me start 15-20 minutes I will start. And then another 15-20 minutes you again go back to saying another 20 minutes I will definitely start. So these are these little voices which sound very unimportant or just like that, but they're actually making you less productive. They're actually making you procrastinate. And what happens is you lose that precious time. Then you start getting anxious because the work actually is piling on. And then the whole cycle gets repeated again, wherein you're not able to complete the work. So look out for these voices and tell them to take a back seat, and you can start even if you have a short time. Maybe at that point of time, pick up something which is not very something which doesn't require too much of concentration. Maybe at that time you can reply to that email that you've been wanting to write, or make that phone call that you've been wanting to do, right? So do something at that point of time, even if you have 15 minutes. Don't postpone things. And we all know that Hindi saying, if I'm sure many of you would be familiar with it, kaal kare so aaj kare so ab, pal mein parle hoegi bahuri karega ka. And actually we are facing that with the pandemic situation. We need to do things now. We cannot postpone them for a later time. We don't know whether we'll get that time properly or not. And last and the most important thing in time management, whenever you are able to accomplish your goals, appreciate yourself. Appreciate yourself for the task accomplished. Lot of us, what we do is, suppose I'm able to achieve 70% of my goals. I don't focus on that 70%. I'll focus on the 30% that, oh my God, so much is still left. But at least I managed to do 70%. Shouldn't I be appreciating myself for that? So, very, very important to tell yourself, give a pat on your back, give yourself a thumbs up that, yes, I'm able to do this much. And tomorrow I'm going to try even harder, right? So just a quick thing, prioritize things into what is important and what is urgent, and do not indulge in activities that are neither important nor urgent. Make a to-do list, appreciate yourself for all the goals that you're able to accomplish in that to-do list, even if there are 50%, 40%, whatever it is, appreciate yourself. Use the Pomodoro technique. So that is 25 minutes of intense work, 5 minutes of break, 4 such repetitions, and then taking a slightly longer break. Looking out for those little voices in your head which tell you to delay the task, which make you procrastinate, which ask you to be perfect, and therefore, since you can't be perfect now, it's better to do it later, and then you end up not doing the thing at all. Look out for those voices, stop them from controlling your lives, and actually actually, even if there's a little time, do something at that time which is not very mind intensive kind of a work. And lastly, do not forget to appreciate yourself for all the goals that you've been able to accomplish. So 2 techniques, worry box and time management. So now let's have some question answers. We can have a Q&A. What all questions do we have? Yes, failing is a part of the process. Very true. And failure is actually an opportunity for us to learn, to know where we went wrong and how not to repeat that. So if you have any questions regarding yesterday's breathing exercise, about anxiety, about what we have discussed today, please feel free to ask. Okay, somebody, the exam anxiety. Yeah, very, very common. Exam anxiety, or something also called test anxiety. So happens usually at the time when you're during tests. It can happen even during your final exams, interviews, etc. Right? So what you need to do is, one, as we have talked about, the breathing exercise. That helps. Another thing sometimes that helps, obviously your preparedness will definitely help, because if you keep on worrying, if you keep on getting anxious and actually not spend that time studying, then it will not help your anxiety. But breathing exercises, positive thinking, and actually using imagery where you can imagine yourself sitting in the exam hall, giving the exams, reading the question paper properly, reading all the questions properly, and then working out strategically. Like, for example, doing the questions that you know first and then going on to the questions which you do not know at a later point of time. How not to worry about not passing my assignments? Well, the same question that I asked, that how does worrying help you? Yes, you may or may not pass your assignments, but would worrying about it help? So if the answer is no, then what can I do about it? What I can do is, I can be better prepared for my assignments from the next time, or I can not focus on it till actually the results are out. It may be just a fear. I may actually pass my exam, right? Panic attacks are basically high anxiety attack, a very acute attack which intensifies in a few seconds, and it can be a very, very scaring experience. Definitely breathing exercises help. Identifying triggers for panic attack helps. We'll be covering more about panic attacks on our Thursday session. Tomorrow we'll be talking about challenging your thinking. On Thursday I'll be dealing with panic attacks. And somebody also asked about social anxiety. I'll also be covering that before the week ends, of how to deal with social situations, how not to indulge into mind reading and thinking the worst that can happen. Abhyas is asked how to get out of the trap of not being able to get back to work after missing it once or twice. Okay, so what happens is that once you miss some work, for example, you may have missed a class, you may have missed an exercise, you may have missed some online meetings, or some tasks that you were given. It's very natural and common to feel amotivated, or to feel as if again to delay getting back to it. So it's all about asking yourself that what are the pros and cons. So if I don't go back to the work, if I don't join the work, what is the advantage for me? Advantage is that it will not make me anxious, it will give me some more free time for myself. But what are the disadvantages, or what are the cons of that? And then weighing the two. It's like something called a decision balancing, weighing the two, and then making a decision whether I want to get back to the work And if I do, how would I reward myself for it? How to deal with self-criticism. Self-criticism is like when I personalize thoughts as if all the things that are going wrong are because of me. I am good for nothing, I cannot do anything right. We basically challenge these thoughts. We find out evidence for and against these thoughts. More of it I'll be covering in tomorrow's session. And to further talk about how to challenge your negative thinking, how to find alternative or rational ways of thinking, and the power of positive thinking. For more tips and techniques for dealing with anxiety, and don't forget to download the Visa app.